Okay, so today we're going to be talking about making questions from the verb be. So that's going to be am, are, is, or if we're talking about past tense, so before right now, that's when we're talking about before what's happening in the moment. So how to make questions with verbs like was and were. So we have these sentences, which we've worked on the past couple days. You are happy, and they were happy. So this one right here is present tense, meaning in the moment, right? So you are happy, they were happy. We also learned how to say that whatever is happening is not, or it's the opposite. So we have you are happy. We can say you are not happy to mean that they're sad, or the opposite of whatever happy is. And then we can make it also past tense. They were not happy. And today we're going to figure out how to change these into questions. So are you happy? Were they happy? So this is how we change present and past into questions. You can do it with either. So present, in the moment, we are happy, right? And there are a couple things you got to do. So you need to switch we and are. So that's what we did right here. We put the are at the beginning, are, and we put the we after. So are we happy? When you're writing in English or when you're reading, you'll see this thing right here. It's called a question mark. And the thing right here is called a period. A period just lets you know when the end of a sentence is, or the end of something that somebody's saying is. A question mark lets you know that that's the end of what they're saying, but it's a question. So, are we happy? And when you're speaking, a lot of times English speakers will make the last word go up in the sound that they're making. So instead of saying, are we happy? They will say, are we happy? And that usually lets you know if you're talking to somebody in English that what you're saying is a question. And sometimes in English, people will say things that aren't actually questions, but they'll make the end sound higher, and it turns it into a question. So when you're writing in English, the proper way to make a question is this way. But if you're talking to somebody and they said, we are happy, that makes it a question when you're talking to it by making the sound go higher. But for right now, all you really need to worry about is that we are happy is what you're saying is happening right now. You're saying something about it. But if you say, are we happy? You're asking somebody a question. So when you have past, so before right now, we were happy. Were we happy? Again, you're just switching these two right here and adding a question mark to make it a question. So we're going to practice changing some sentences into questions. So we have, you are from Spain. So we know we want to change this into a question. So what we have to look for, there are only two things we need to look for, which is who we're talking about, the person that we're talking about, or the thing that we're talking about, and the form of be, which to be, right? Be happy or be sad. We know that be can look like are or is, Here, let me write these out. Let me write these out for you. Just a second while I change. So we know that be can mean it's the same as am. This is really hard to write on my computer, so I'm sorry if this looks really sloppy. So be can be am or is or are. Oh, this looks very bad, but that's okay. Am, is, or are for present, or it can be was. That's a bad W. It can be was or were. Okay. So that looks really bad, but that's okay. So what we're going to look for, again, is who we're talking about and one of these. So am, is, are, was, or were. And for this sentence, we see that there's are right here, and the person we're talking about is you. So we need to switch these two. So to make the sentence a question, we say, are you from Spain? So we just switched you and are. So again, what we need to look for is who we're talking about, and am, is, are, was, or were. And we see that were is right here, and the person we're talking about is they. And what's nice about these sentences is that they'll always be the first two words right here. When you have a sentence like this, so it turns into, were they late to work? We were busy. We know the sentence is talking about we, and we see that there's were right here, so we just have to switch them to say, were we busy? I am late. So we've got am right here, I right here. That's all we need to know, so we just have to switch those. Am I late? And this one, what we need to look for again, is right here, he is right here. So we switch those two. Is he on the 4th floor? She was in a meeting. That one turns into, was she in a meeting? It was raining. Turns into, was it raining? Okay, so we can also add not to the sentence. So you can change all of these sentences right here into, and these sentences as well. You can change all of anything that you say into a not statement, meaning you can say, put not in the sentence and have it mean the opposite of this. So the first sentence is, they are home. So again, we need to focus on the person that we're talking about, and the verb, which is are. And we say, are they home? That's how we make this one a sentence. When you're using not, they are not home. Again, we just have to find the person we're talking about or the thing that we're talking about, and the verb be, which in this case is are. So we just have to switch those two and leave everything after the same. So are they not home? She was my supervisor. She was my supervisor. She was is what we're going to switch, so it turns into, was she my supervisor? So was she my supervisor? The next sentence is the opposite, not, meaning that they are not my supervisor. She was not my supervisor. Turns into, Was she not my supervisor? So again, we just have to focus on the first two, switching these two right here. Everything after this does not need to change. It stays the same. So this is just to show you in a better way how it's just about where the words come in the sentence or what you're saying. And it's really easy to just flip them and turn it into a sentence. So we have they are home, which is, since we use are, that means it's present in the moment. They are home. To make it a question, we put are at the beginning, right here, and they comes after are. Are they home? They were home, which because of were, this one's past tense. So when we say past, again, that means before right now. Were they home? We just switch. Were comes at the beginning, they comes after. They are not home. So this one is the same as this sentence, except it means the opposite because it's saying that they're not home. They're not home. Then to make it a question, are they not home? The only part we changed is right here. Everything after stays the same. They were not home. Were is past tense. They were not home. Again, we just focus on the first part, and everything after doesn't change to make it a question. You just say, were they not home? And you add a little question mark if you're writing. But if you're just talking, you just say, were they not home? And for this one, she is my supervisor. Is she my supervisor? She was my supervisor. Was she my supervisor? She is not my supervisor. Is she not my supervisor? She was not my supervisor. Was she not my supervisor? So again, all we're doing is changing where we're just changing she and was. So was comes at the beginning and she comes after that. So that's all we're changing about these. So that's it for today. Next lesson, we'll kind of review and talk about putting things like is and not together. So I'm sure you've heard people in English say isn't, which is a combination of is and not, or wasn't, or weren't, or what's another one? Aren't. That's another one. It's the same as how you can put together I am to say I'm, or you are, or you are can't, or you are can be put together to say you're. It's a bit confusing, but we're gonna talk about it tomorrow. So I hope you guys are doing okay, and I'll see you in the next video.